is Tony Gustafsson, and I'm the head of Business School of Excellence. And we are the first officially accredited private training provider for wholesale and retail in Namibia. And we've been an active partner in the development of the qualifications and the development of the content. And we also closely collaborate with Nakayale VTC to see that we can roll these qualifications out to industry in a responsible manner. Because it's a new development, there's very little experience on the ground. So it's important that we are careful on how we take it to the market and ensure that all the employers that participate get value for their money. So that is where we are, and we are excited about the programs for wholesale and retail taking off now, and we are looking forward to serve the industry and make sure that we've got qualified employees in the industry that is essentially built on customer relations and customer service, and to make sure that we can service the European market in a responsible manner. Thank you. Okay, thank you, Tony. On to your neighbor.
Thank you. My name is Otto Alveld. I'm actually wearing two hats today. I'm here as part of the ISC, Wholesale and Retail Alliance. I'm also in the industry. I'm with SPAR. I'm part of the Becker and Forbes group, and I'm part of the customers of the Business School of Excellence in Nakayale. We are here because we are really interested in apprenticeships. Me myself, I was also an apprentice in the hotel industry to call it in-service training in those days. I worked very hard for very little money for a long time. But yeah, I came through that system, and I really believe in it. And I think we, as wholesale and retail, we should be leading, we shouldn't be lagging behind. But it's obviously not as grand as being an engineer or something like that. I think it's very important that we are here, that we stay interested, that we take this forward. As a lot of the previous panel said, it is not only for business, it's not only for the individuals that are involved, it's also for the good of Namibia.
Don't forget, engineers also go shopping. So it's good. You have to be there.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Eric Ngulani. I am manager of Nakayale Vocational Training Center. It's a public vocational training center. We are the public vocational training center in Namibia that's accredited to offer such a program. And we have done it in support of our colleague from CSA. And our role in the process is very simple: is to transfer skills and knowledge, and to make sure that the people that are participating in that youth employment sector in Namibia have skills. I have picked it up from the colleagues here and others because they that daylight is one of the biggest things we have in the country. And we are very much pleased to say in that kind of process.
Thank you, Eric. Right.
Hi, my name is Rowan van Dijk. You asked the question, what qualifies me to be here? I have an incredible passion for wholesale and retail. I've been in retail for about 41 years in various aspects. I started off working a parcel counter at pep stores when I was in school, and then all the way through. I have also owned a company called DNL Training, which has been accredited since 2009 in South Africa, wholesale and retail. I moved here 7 years ago from South Africa and realized that there was a massive gap in Namibia for retailers. Now, I mentioned to them, my experience when I started in retail was a company in retail, but it is developed into a highly specialized industry and a sector. So yeah, I've been involved as much as I can in all kinds of things. long as we can get some training, informal recognition for retailers, that's what I'm about. And just to add, retail is the biggest for employer.
Good, thank you, Rowan.
My name is Hendrik Barkhuizen. I'm the HR Legal Executive of Burman. I'm actually an attorney of beroep. Ek het so 3 jaar terug oorgegaan na retail toe. I moved over to retail and I first started to deal with all the labor issues for Burman, and then we quite recently moved over to the HR and legal side of it. And Barney approached us with respect to the apprenticeship program, and I'm a pretty firm believer of the development in the country as being the future and developing people. And I don't have a resume as long as these gentlemen. Rowan just mentioned he's worked for 41 years. I haven't lived for 41 years. But I'm pretty excited to see where we're going to go from here. As I said, I'm pro development, and I think it's going to be pretty beneficial to our market.
Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Hilary Ako. I work for NTA, Work Integrated Learning Division. My position is a work specialist. I'm responsible for coordinating and promoting apprenticeship training when it comes to the sector of wholesale and retail. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Some appreciation for the whole panel, just
To all of you, all of them.
So, it was such a big panel, so I won't go around everyone with the same question, but just to chip in. Let me be devil's advocate first and ask why it's taken so long for qualifications to come on the framework. Because I kind of tend to think, and I might throw this to our fishing people as well, it's taken forever for any ideas of fishing qualifications, also retail qualifications, to be formalized. Was that a way of the bosses keeping the wages down, or was there rather some strategy, or is it just timing? If I can start, I think the easy way out in the past was to go down south and to send people to South Africa to be trained, or even to present South African programs to Namibia. And at the end of the day, the economics determined the outcome. It just became too expensive. And the Namibian industry also growing, and the demand for qualified people growing, made everybody realize, NTA, the providers, everybody realized that we need to have Namibian programs that caters for the Namibian landscape. And I think that was the whole process. So people realized that we had to have Namibianized and serving the Namibian industry. Okay, Otto, I think
Martin, the other reason is that most of the big groups are affiliated to big groups in South Africa once again. And they obviously training, like Finey said, training came from there. And it was the easiest. And also, I mean, you want to play your cards close to your chest. I'm not going to train people and then throw on rock takes them home, kind of thing. And I think we progressed from that kind of thinking. We are on the verge of a breakthrough. And I know we've been looking at this for quite a few years. I think almost 10 years that we've been looking at training in wholesale and retail. But I think the biggest thing was the South African connection, except I wasn't around.
okay, Rowan?
Yeah, there's a couple of other factors as well. One was that all your big retailers all have their main head offices and their main base in South Africa. So they were just sending their people across to train them here. But what happened up until a point, you could use South African retail qualifications and train people formally in Namibia. And then suddenly there was a whole sour because of that, and then suddenly you couldn't use it. So that is basically, I think, where it started. I mean, you now mentioned everybody mentioned me, but I mean, in the beginning when I got here in 2014, I wanted to push Rico, and we were also one of the first people I ran into. We had long discussions, and so there was having arguments with the wine. But it took a while, but then eventually, I think you said that the ISC took the initiative to then say, guys, let's start getting some qualifications on board, and that was when we started with the technical working groups and started running. And we now have 5 or 6 qualifications that are now properly registered and ready to roll it. So, we're ready to rock and roll.
Okay, thank you very much. And before we go to the audience and move the mic around, how's the collaboration? So you've got a private training provider and you've got a public training provider who've been collaborating together for a few years now. How's the marriage? Is it all roses? Has there been some rocky paths? And how do we get more training providers to especially private training providers and public training providers to collaborate together? Because the greater good is obviously a better trained individual, a better trained graduate, and it's the road forward. But what advice have you got since you maybe stop using idioms of marriage? I didn't say that before you got into bed with each other. No, before you started having this relationship. Carry on there.
When we started to look at beyond private and public, we looked beyond that. And then we looked at problem against which was a need of skills in the country. That was our problem. We don't look each other as private assets, public, but we work together as a provider to transfer skills to the people that we have. We have been working together. I'm sure. I remember when me and Pan met for the first time, then we agreed a number of issues. And those number of issues that we agreed, we went to implement the site without. Remember when we recommended it for, no, I think you can look at the trainer fees so that we do that. We have been working together very well. It has no issue of private or public, but our aim and objective was to make sure that we are secure.
Okay, fantastic. And to get new training providers on board is going to be a challenge because, as Rowan has said, the industry is a specialized industry. And at this stage, to get qualified facilitators and trainers is a challenge. And you need to have all these logistics in place to become an accredited provider. And I think the training institutions is going to struggle to, in the short term, to get into this space. We have invested in millions to get the programs ready, to get everything there so that we can roll it out. And that type of money is not always available, especially from a private provider's perspective. Perhaps from a public perspective, yes. NTA has got their centers, but once again, it's a specialized industry and capable and competent trainers and facilitators are not very easy to find. So it's going to be a challenge, but we're all there to help. The cake is big enough to accommodate a number of us, and we need more providers. So we're there to help. We're there to build capacity because we're there to serve the industry. Okay. Thanks, Fanny. I don't prove my impartiality. This week is all about promoting apprenticeships. So it's a pretty closed question, but would you say the throughput of graduates through working with apprenticeship and working with just an institute on a full-time basis and then going into work maybe for job attachment a bit later, but then not really fully knowing the company that they're in? It's obviously the answer to that question. And let's hear it in your words.
I'm going to, based on my experience and what I've experienced here, and we had a discussion earlier, we were talking about it. We were talking about the assessment part. model or do a technical drawing or something that you can test them outside of the workplace. Retail, you cannot assess somebody packing the shelf unless he's in the store packing the shelf. So the practical part is vital. The job attachment helps. So you could have a public institution like a Yali could have them full-time as a student and then have them in the work attachment, they get the experience. It just sort of detaches Nakayali for a while, they then have to mentor them for a while until they assess them. The other option that I think, and I know it's, those of you who are public or private providers will know that unfortunately currently the process is very tedious and very difficult. Some people, I made a comment once and after people didn't understand, I said it sometimes resembles a woman giving birth to a roll of barbed wire. It's how painful the process is. But
Other people wouldn't understand.
There is another option that they can do, and I know Woodman is also exploring that option. And that is where you get the provider, the accredited provider, the institution, partnering or collaborating with the workplace, where the workplace can then develop their own training that is specialized for the workplace, but that is aligned to the qualifications and the human standards, and they can then partner that they don't have to do assessments. So if you get a lot of the larger, not to go down south again, but if you take your PEPs and your Woolworths and your Ackermans and these guys, they are all accredited as training providers. They do their own training, their own assessments, their own everything in South Africa. So I think that it would help if the retailers could, some of the retailers, the bigger ones, could then start also getting involved in assisting with the training. It will take the burden off. Because with two training providers, you're never going to train them in all the people in retail. Definitely not in all retailers. But as Martin says, there are just no
Okay, thanks, Ron.
formally.
I'll give the mic to the floor. Charlie will come with his cloth. No, you have a monopoly.
Charlie. Sorry. Maybe it's because this is very close to me, and we have been doing quite a lot of industry engagement, and really, there is really a strong push from the industry to get this through. Retail and wholesale being the second largest after agriculture in terms of the employment. Yet, when it comes to formal training, we would say we just started like yesterday. So that means that out of these 162,000 people, more than 10% formal qualifications. Now, when we have initial discussion on these retail and wholesale, their approach and all that, what would be the best approach? Because you have a workforce that is already in our shops, that is already doing the jobs, but they don't have formal qualifications. So I thought it would be a best sort of an opportunity for this particular sector to pursue rigorously the issue of apprenticeships and RTL. And the conventional, of course, way of training, of having full-time trainee, either basic, PSE, or Nakayale would be sort of an option, not second optional, but really the sector, I thought we're gonna go hard on apprenticeships and on RTL because the workforce is already there. They have, many of them have the skills, but they don't have formal qualification. Secondly, the issue of mentors within the sectors. How do we address them? Because I understand it's one of the biggest challenge that is hampering the implementation of apprenticeship for these particular sectors. That they are literally no mentors available. I don't know now in terms of the qualifications that the supervisors, the buyers that they have coming from South Africa, whether whatever that they acquired would not necessarily qualify them for them to mentor people that are being certified up to level 4 or level 3. So maybe we also need to address that. Lastly is the issue of how unique the arrangement that exists within the retail and wholesale when it comes to recruitment, and who owns which employees within your shop. How is that going to sort of, maybe not necessarily a challenge to apprenticeship, because you will find that in maybe Bulma, they only own 50% of the workforce that you see in the shop. So these other people are either from Kokomo or the others and others, but they are not part of this discussion. And these are the people that we want to push through apprenticeships. So how are we going to actually make sure that all these processes are, first of all, understood? Because we don't want this process to disrupt the arrangement that's already there. But first is to understand the process and how do we come in and really make this apprenticeship work. Thank you.
Okay, how many more hands were there? It's almost like three questions in there, maybe. Okay, can you just start addressing some of those? I was also interested, especially in the mental qualification, because I've been using that field Dali as I is burning into the back of my head when I say that whenever we were talking about pharmacy assistants about 8 years ago, or no, 6 years ago, it was the lady in the pharmacy who had 30 years experience with no qualification. Why can't she be a mentor? But now we're putting qualification onto mentors. How does the panel feel about that? Should NTA be relaxing mentors what experience and requirements with regard to qualifications? Are we going to get there in the end? We can bring them in, or is the time right to do it now? And hopefully address Ndongo's question of the mentors' availability as well.
The rest of them can address other questions. I'll address the one on the mentorship because otherwise I won't be sure. I think one of the reasons that you have a limited budget for lunch is that GIZ has been spending a lot of money currently on training assessors, instrument designers, and moderators. So that is as far as the mentors. And I know GIZ is busy developing a qualification for mentors that will roll out soon that will actually train them on mentorship. So that's answer the rest.
Okay, anyone want to tackle in terms of RPL and any?
I think what assessment, Martin, from my side, I think what makes it a little bit more interesting is that retail is such a diverse field. We have butchers, bakers, we have cattle makers, restaurants, we have all kinds of stuff. Difficult. When you find a mentor that can mentor somebody across that wide field, and that's what makes it quite interesting. So maybe the way to go is to train these guys as mentors, to identify certain guys in the industry, pull them out and say, okay, whoever does it.
Yeah, but the fundamental comment remains from you saying maybe NTA needed to relax its requirement for mentors. And it's making sense by, for the example that you have just given, somebody have been in the retailer for 40 years. 40 years. Do you want to tell me that person has not experience enough to be just converted with a small amount of training? We need to do that.
Martin, Nadia and I had some heated discussions about the whole leadership
How
issue.
needed?
Very they're both too smart. And initially I didn't understand why she was so adamant about the mentor issue. Until we really started to become actively involved and I understood where she came from and how important the mentor is in this whole program. The problem is, as Rowan has said, to be a mentor does not only mean that you need to have workplace experience. You actually guide the student through the whole qualification process to be assessed and found competent at the end of the day. And for that, you need understanding of how the qualifications work. You need understanding how to interpret a unit standard, for instance, and to make sure that the candidate complies with the specific performance criteria criteria on which they're going to be assessed. So even someone with a university degree who doesn't understand the TVET environment won't properly function as mentors, workplace mentors. They might have all the years experience. If they don't understand the training environment and what is required to get the candidate from the beginning to the end, it's not going to work. So also the retail has been lucky because NTA has relaxed just to get the program going, because that was one of the issues that actually kept the program back, was the absence of qualified mentors. So NTA has relaxed the requirements. We now have qualified or assessed benchmark something like 98 mentors that are now approved to be workplace mentors. But these individuals will need serious assistance. So as a training provider, it's not only us training the candidates, we also need to support the mentors to make sure that whatever is the outcome is going to be acceptable and satisfies the needs of the client, the employer. So mentors is a huge issue for household and retail. We're fortunate it has been relaxed, but building back to the point where we're going to implement the strict requirements that NTA has. So this is just interim agreement that we have. In 3 years' time, we're back at what the normal requirements are.
Okay. And I think, yes, Ellen?
I wanted to touch on the component of recognition of prior learning. Since we didn't have qualification for wholesale before, so for a year now that I've been engaging employers, most of them, they are not aware of that, so which means us from the NGA need to appear in wholesale and retail, and the type of training that the employers have been offering to their employees mostly is tailor-made, which is a short course just for them to keep on functioning for that specific need of that specific employer. Because the type of training they give at SPA might not really be the type of training that they give at Bloomberg, because they all train according to their needs. But with now that we have the qualification in place, we are advocating and raising awareness for employers to engage the NTA and put their employees who have more years experience on the recognition of prior learning program so that they get certified. And it's also not as an easy process as it seems, because these people also need to understand the type of evidence that will be collected for the compiling of portfolio of evidence. So therefore, we need to pay more attention in this area and guide our employers when it comes to this. Most of them have been working in silos, doing their own training to suit their needs, but since we have the qualification, we have started. We have a few that have shown interest, and I think with that, it will be a good number to start with to have more qualified thinkers through recognition of prior.
Thanks, Ellen. I think that's well explained, that there's the assessment division that's running an RPL program, and since Ndongo said there's like 162,000 people with no formal qualification, but 10% only have, then pushing all those, if it was possible to push all of those through RPL, you would see where they were in a strata of qualification, and some of those ones that had experience and knowledge and wisdom also will become the mentors. So we've got some years of development before we get to full capacity, but it's on the journey. I just wanted to, I'll open the floor to more questions after just the one that was very interesting from Ndongo. Who owns the workforce? It sounds like a bit controversial to me. I don't know whether that's a hot potato, and does it fit with the apprentices? Or are there agencies that are sending people to your shops, or how does it work?
I don't think to say it doesn't really matter because we dare to develop. So whoever we're going to employ as apprentices is going to work for us through the 3-year period with the idea of re-employing them or permanently employing them after the 3-year period. So I don't really think that matters or is relevant. The idea of the program is to promote permanent employment. So that's what we will work.
Okay.
Spoken like a true lawyer.
Okay, hands up then. Even the cameraman has a question, so that's good. We're very inclusive.
Thank you very much. My name is Franz Koyuke. I'm not only a cameraman, but I'm an activist. So, the question I want perhaps the panelists to react on is around the question of automation, retail, and wholesale. The world of artificial intelligence has advanced. And I think this phenomenon of automation, give it 5-10 years, it will hit your doorstep. So perhaps the preparedness in place and maybe the institutional framework in terms of training. Because if artificial intelligence is going to be only an importation from higher tech company, and there's no input, or you have not structured your educational system within the VTC to offer what you can offer in the market, I think it will be very disastrous, so to say. But I also feel like in terms of retail and wholesale, I don't know to what extent can we qualify that we have a retail and wholesale system or economy or sector. I would say this is a South African system, South African sector. We don't have a retail and wholesale sector in Namibia. We have a South African and wholesale sector in Namibia. And maybe also the question of formality or for example, when I say I'm an activist and we have a company like ShopRite, at any point staff are deployed because they just want a better increment. I don't know how we justify that the framework of formality is just. I think maybe just to respond to those kind of issues. Thank you.
So I'll take that one. I don't know if you know, but we've been operating in the boundaries of 126 years. So I don't fully agree with it's a South African and wholesale. Even though the other companies are perhaps South Africa based, they give so much to the economy. I can't even begin to think how you can say it's a South African wholesale. And then your second question was that you said something about you said we don't employ the workforce. And once again, if you go have a look at the amount we put back into the economy through the casuals, through the hourlies, or however we employ them, there's a massive input from all the retailers. So, I mean, if it wasn't for that, there would be a bigger shortfall in the economy. So I think we give a lot to the economy and we do a lot for the Namibian GDP. So that's just what my space in it.
Okay, Eric, touch on that, then we'll just touch on the AI question, and we'll take one more question.
Yeah, I just want to salute the cameraman for his intervention. He indicated something very important by saying, are we ready for artificial intelligence? it's a good question that we need to think of. I think Indongo is in the room, and as well as the regulators. It is very, very important. I think the question needs proper informations.
I just want to add something on the AI side. Firstly, there's two parts to artificial intelligence. The one is in the next 5 to 10 years, many jobs are going to become redundant due to artificial intelligence. And a lot of your shop assistants in retail will probably get chopped because of AI. You can do online shopping, but it'll never go away. And for every one job that's lost in AI, another 10 are created. So training and developing people is important because you're reskilling them to take on new challenges and new opportunities. As far as AI is concerned in training, I know BSE already have an online platform. I know with my company, I work fully online. Everything is automated. I run a whole year program, assessments, everything is digital. I have every second week for an hour and a half, I have a live Zoom session with the trainees to play catch up and to answer questions. The rest of the time, everything is done either via social media or online. So it is possible to do it. There are different ways. The fortunate thing about COVID is it has taught us to be creative with training and the way we approach training. So there are big steps being taken.
Thank you. The gentleman at the back, and you can carry on the comments.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Goodman. Is a coordination development in all the sectors? For example, from retailer, can you be promoted to be upgraded or to be trained and also serve in the logistics one day at that level? I think we must coordinate things like that because if we just start retailer, you just hire a retailer. I think a person from retail and how to keep things and how to take stock and all that, can he go up to bigger things like at Wolfie's Bay there to work there? I think those are the things we have to think, not just one part and then die like that. Thank you.
Okay, somebody can take coordination and multi-skilling.
Well, if you look at wholesale and retail and transport logistics, they are all part of the supply chain. So you've got a common basis to start from. The way that we've developed the qualifications up till now is actually to allow the candidate to articulate or to move into different fields as they go to higher levels. For instance, one of the qualifications that has been identified that we need to address very soon is, for instance, warehouse management. And warehousing happens both in wholesale and retail as well as transport and logistics. So that could be a typical crossover qualification where the candidate becomes multi-skilled and can be pursue a career in either one of the two in these industries. So whenever we develop a qualification, we always look at providing opportunities so that candidates can actually expand the field or their scope to where they want to specialize in.
I just want to quickly add something. The whole environment we're working in is based, whether it's workplace integrated learning, whether it's RPL, whether it is CVET, PVET, whatever, revolves around the National Qualifications Framework. All the qualifications and everything is on the NQF. And one of the main principles of the NQF is portability, which means that everything you develop, everything you train in this environment needs to be able to be carried across qualifications and across sectors and industries. So that is the backbone of it. So yes, that will always take place. It's got to be there.
While we are talking about qualifications, at NTA, our qualifications are living documents. So they are reviewed after every 5 years. Then we take out what is no longer relevant and we update the new to make sure that the qualification keeps fit for the purpose. So with the official intelligence merging in, we always make sure that they are incorporated during the review. So that's why we make sure that after every 5 years, the qualification are reviewed.
You're very optimistic. 5 years in the review, I think we're now talking about maybe 3 years in terms of technology. Dalia, you have the mic?
Yes, thank you. I think I wanted to find out from the panelists. We see that we have quite a few training institutions in the market, and then we have quite a number of employers who want to participate in the program. I think in terms of statistics, we have received close to 100 applications from different shops who want to participate in the program. Oh, good. Now the question is, how are you planning to coordinate that training, given the distance between the training institutions and the company? That's the first one. The second one is 2-3 years back, I think we started advocating for RPL in wholesale and retail, and this was our starting point before we embark on the apprenticeship program. But then up to now, I'm yet to see quite a number of RPL graduates we have produced for the wholesale and retail sector. I just wanted to understand from your perspective, what is the delay? Is the delay from the processes which we have put in place? Is the delay perhaps from the candidates themselves? Or what is causing the delay? Thank you.
Okay, Charlie, just take one more question from the beginning there, and then you can answer those questions, Dalia, and when you're summing up. Also, I think you also have something to say. Jessica, go ahead.
I just want to quickly turn down how the qualifications were built. I just want to understand, is it short qualifications that build up to a large qualification over a period of 2 or 3 years, or is it one large qualification?
Okay. Arnie, you can tackle that.
Okay.
Let me
answer the last question first. The qualification is a year-long qualification depending on the credit value of the qualification. As long as the qualification is less than 120 credits, then it's a year qualification. If it goes beyond 120 credits, then it becomes a year-plus qualification. It is not short programs. We can probably break it up into short learning programs, but that is not yet an official approach that has been adopted in Namibia. So each qualification is an independent standalone qualification on different levels. So you will typically, in also the retail, you will typically enter at level 2 and then build up to level 5. And we hopefully will have some level 6 qualifications which are available very soon. So each qualification is a standalone independent qualification, but you can progress to
Not by with all of them, but there's a problem, there's a challenge in that process.
Thank you very much. Also, just to sum up, I think RPL is very important. Obviously, mentorship is a challenge, and that's what I wanted to revert to. Mentorship to, the people that are the mentors are also working in the industry. Will they have the time? Will they have the inclination to do it properly? That's a challenge, definitely a challenge. And then finding the right mentors. But to sum up, we are here. We want to make this work. We are all for apprenticeship, especially RPL. All the knowledge that is in the industry itself at the moment. We've got thousands of years of experience there. But we need to put a qualification to it. And that's where RPL comes in. And freshen it up with apprentices, and then also add that into our succession plans to get the workforce going, to Namibianize this thing, to be better for Namibia. That's all.
Eric, do you want to sum up as well?
Okay. Firstly, I just want to touch on the RPL. Dalia Indongo mentioned a figure of 162,000. I think it's a bit more than that, but if you take 162,000 people that need to be RPL, and you take that there are only 2 of us in Namibia that are registered as assessors with NTA in the retail space, those who did maths try and figure that one out. So, what I'm saying is, yes, we have challenges. So to sum up, there are challenges, there are obstacles, there are a lot of questions, there's a lot of things we have to fix up and we have to work on. But it's a lot more important to start rather than to wait until it's perfect. And we've started. That's the big thing. The bus is now going, we are on the move, we have the new place, we accept all the questions, we accept the challenges, but we believe that in the next 2 to 3 years, this first rollout of the work integrated learning apprenticeship, in 3 years' time, we can sit here and we're going to have a lot more success stories than we have currently.
I just want to say thanks to NTA and partnering you guys. I think it's a good experience. I'm really looking forward to it. Really looking forward to getting it going after the festive seasons. I think we're gonna hit the road running. I think it's gonna be good.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah,
But when Eric, you can sum up and answer the question at the same
no,
time.
that's the last.
I'm going to come back to you. Yeah.
You know, that young question need also to be now serious attention at one point. When you look at the